Hey everybody, today I'm going to be reviewing The Killer. This was directed by David Fincher. This film is reuniting Fincher with Andrew Kevin Walker, who wrote Seven many years ago, of course, and here they're adapting a French graphic novel of the same name. This film was shot during the pandemic. It has a very sleek, kind of cool efficiency to it. I would say it's very much inspired by a lot of those like enigmatic assassin films of the past, particularly Le Samurai. It's definitely the most obvious example of all of them, but yeah, this is just basically about a killer who is hired to assassinate people. He is very cold, very unwavering. He's always giving us the appearance of control. He narrates the film, explaining kind of his philosophies. But of course, the humor here is that everything is out of his control throughout this entire film, and he's constantly having to go against a lot of his codes. So far as things I like about the movie, one thing I find interesting is the simplicity of it. And I think that can be oddly liberating for a director who has tackled such ambitious projects in the past. Sometimes it's interesting to kind of return to the roots, strip it down a little bit. It just means that maybe he can play around with the form, play around with some of the ideas in ways that maybe he hasn't touched on in the past, because I would say thematically, structurally, a lot of what's going on here he's done already. Just lately with this film and his previous film, Mank, there's just something about it. It just doesn't have the snap. It doesn't have the bite, that real drive to express something special. And so I just ultimately felt disappointed. Of course, Fincher is an incredible director, and you can see all of those elements coming through always in the film. I know that this was a movie that they shot during the pandemic, and you can really feel that. There's always this strange numbness, just so far as the tone is concerned, and that's absolutely by design. And I like that the editing at times, it's very, removed in the way that Fincher's very known for. Our main character here is constantly traveling throughout the movie, and even though there's just this weird disconnect from just the editing of all of that, just in terms of the continuity and everything, but yet it still always feels very sophisticated, very fluid. I think Fincher really wants us to know, maybe here more than almost any other movie he's made, that he is very self-aware of what's going on here. I do like certain elements of surprise in the film. At times, it kind of keeps you guessing in ways that threw me off. I just wish that all of that had been executed better. Like when the movie begins, you think for a while it's going to be one of those singular cat and mouse chases, and it actually turns out pretty quickly to become more of a revenge tale. I think Fassbender is, just always a very compelling performer, a really charismatic performer. His face is just very intense and hardened, and thus I think it only works in certain types of roles. I can't quite see him in like a romantic comedy or anything of that nature, but yeah, his face is just really haunted. Haunted is the best word I can think of. Almost like a shell-shocked face where you just don't know the rich history of darkness, yet he can express it all in a weird, kind of like a very dead, chilling sort of hollowness. And yet always there's just those deep seeds of like searing intensity, piercing intensity. And so I think there's a lot to play with there. Just, he doesn't even have to say much. He's also an amazing physical specimen, not an ounce of body fat on the man, very sinewy. He moves with a type of confidence and certainly elegance, the body control of maybe a great ballet dancer or something like that. And I think the slickness really translates beautiful to Fincher's style. And Fassbender's presence, again, I think it really fills a lot of the spaces where the movie might feel a little bit lackluster, because at least he is always interesting. And yeah, I mean, I think for Fincher, there's a lot hinging on this particular casting decision, because our main character has so little to bounce off of. There's almost no dramatic tension externally in the same ways you're used to. For me, this film just really needed to go harder. It needed to go harder in almost every respect. And, because if you're going to go more the thin skeletal route so far as narrative is concerned, then you've got to realize that those key pieces stand out, and they've got to be meaty and tender and juicy. And you've got to give us something, some sort of clear emotion that is driving the piece, even if the intent here is to maybe frame it from more a cold voyeuristic stance. And the problem too is when you have something that is so thinly conceived here, a lot of those conceits stick out. And I guess I just sensed a lot of hesitance so far as what Fincher is trying to say about maybe the nature of morality and empathy versus apathy. And there's a lot of humor, off-color humor within the script, but to me, it always just kind of read as a little bit of a distraction from a lot of, maybe from the lack of real intent here. There's just no elbow grease. Sure, it's funny and obviously very tongue-in-cheek by design, but it just doesn't feel particularly inventive to me, and it's lacking just, yeah, a lot of the ambition and density of a script like 7. I just couldn't find a way into our main character where he's facing some sort of emotional juxtaposition with any real grit, despite the fact that he is dealing with a lot of very harrowing obstacles throughout the film. The best part of the film, I think a lot of people will probably agree with me on this, is Fassbender's one-on-one conversation in the restaurant with Tilda Swinton's character. The reason it is strong is because of Tilda Swinton, of course. She does an amazing job here of creating an interesting character, an intriguing character out of dialogue that, again, does feel a little bit redundant and, you know, somewhat uninspired. She's elegant and very proper in her manner, yet she's very direct and clearly on the same wavelength as our killer, if not beyond him. She's very droll, and it's like, oh, you know, this is great. We're actually getting somewhere. We're laying some groundwork for something, giving our protagonist, again, something to bounce off of. But again, I do struggle with the way that the scene is written overall, because we have seen a million scenes like this in other movies done better. Hell, we've seen Fincher do scenes like this over and over in his career much better than this. With some pep and some fizz, this scene felt almost like, oh, we're gonna dust off that scene from that old shelf and bring it down here. We can't find a nice balance between, you know, finding the common ground of the old pastiche elements that we're very used to, and then, you know, trying to find a new perspective on that in this, you know, this new world. The talent is obviously there, and there are parts of the film that are, you know, really crackling in the ways that I like from Fincher, but it's just not carrying through. And again, from a director of this caliber, it just doesn't feel like he's fully present here like he has been in the past. And lately, it just feels like we've hit kind of a lull in the filmography, and I hope that changes at a certain point. I would say maybe don't pay full price for a ticket for this. It's going to come out on Netflix very, very soon, so I say maybe just wait for that if you're ever bored some night. And obviously, if you're a Fincher fan, I would say watch it out of curiosity. Just don't expect to be knocked over by the material. The marketing for this movie was pretty silent overall, and I think the finished product kind of reflects that. It doesn't really inspire some dynamic marketing campaign. So yeah, there you are. And that is my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to plug my website as always. It is deepfocuslens.com. I'm an artist. I do commission portraits, and I also sell prints of my work. If that's something that you're interested in, you can always go to the website below. And if you have a question about a commission or a print, you can always email me. My email is in the description box below as well. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons who are fantastic. Guys, thank you so much for your support, and welcome to all the new members. If you are interested in supporting, the link for that is below, as well as the rest of my social media information. You can watch more videos here, and you can subscribe if you'd like. Catch you next time.